right, I think we're up and running. Hello, everyone. Getting a couple minutes late getting started here, so I am just going to have you guys up here while I go ahead and get set up. It'll just take me here a second here. All right, so let me just tweet this out real quick. Let's see. Okay. Put that out there. And we will put one for YouTube. And then we'll be good to go. Put one here. Cool. All right. So, with all that stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So, last time we were doing a little bit more on our terrain setup. And so we're going to continue on with that. This time I'm going to go ahead and hook it up in the file and attempt to load it and kind of see where we're at, because I don't fully remember where we left off last time. So with that said, let's go ahead and open up a terminal. We'll switch into development, Kohi, and get into nvim. All right. One thing that I do want to mention really quickly, actually, before we jump into that, I had forgotten something. I actually started something kind of on my own off stream. I don't want the whole window. I just want a tab. Give me just a tab. Here we go. So I started something offline, a little bit of a refactoring effort. And that is on the static and naming branch. And actually, I've put up a pull request for this. And basically what this is it is a collection of changes. Let's see. Basically, actually, this is probably a good place to start, where I added static qualifiers to truly private functions, like functions in our C file that shouldn't be exposed anywhere else. And so I added that kind of all over the place, because it really should have been done before, and it's kind of a bad habit of mine I need to break, not doing that. So I've gone ahead and done that. And then I also changed a lot of the function names to consistently be system object action. There were lots of inconsistencies across the whole API, and so I went ahead and fixed that. So actually, before I continue with this, let me do a quick, I'm going to go ahead and merge this, right? Because this is actually already done. So the only thing I really need to do now is just make sure it's merging into main. Yeah, into main from that. So we'll go ahead and squash and merge. And then we'll nuke the branch. And I'll go here to check out main, and we'll do a pull. Right, and then I'll go back to feature terrain, I think it was. Right, feature terrain work in progress. Okay, and then git merge main, and I anticipate we're probably going to have some merge conflicts here. So let's go ahead and try that. Yeah, we are. because I kind of started some of these things on this branch and then didn't actually push them up like to main and whatnot. So there's some of these things are going to collide. So what I'm actually going to do is I like the merge or the diff in VS Code. So I'm actually going to use that for a second and go here into all of our get this console out of the way. So I'm going to go here and get this merged in. All right. So let's go ahead and put this over here and get rid of, oops, hit the wrong key. And get rid of that. And we'll just sort of merge in the changes. Okay, so this is literally just I'm going to take the current change on that one. And I'm going to take the current change on, oh, wait a minute. I'm actually going to take both changes on that one. All right, so that's that one. This one is just the rename change. I'm not sure why this actually is even conflicting, to be completely honest. Unpack it, build, unpack it, destroy. Yeah, so we want the incoming change for that. And this one we're also going to want the incoming change. And we want, actually it's going to be incoming change for all of these views. So yeah, incoming change. I could do this manually, but it's just a little bit faster to use this tool for this. So let's have a look here at what this difference is. I think this is just an effect of the rename. It is not just that. But we do want the incoming change because we have our, oh, wait a minute. No, this is I technically need changes from both of these guys. So instead of world geometries, we do want this incoming change, but instead of world geometries, we want the address of scene world data. So we'll go ahead and take that. And then now we'll take the incoming change. And we'll come down here and simple scene terrain add. Yeah, we definitely wanted the current change here. All right. Is there another conflict here? Why is this? Let's go ahead and close that one. I just want to reopen it real quick to make sure. Sometimes the highlighting kind of messes up on this. All right, a couple more files here, and then we can finally move on. So, let's see. So these are all renames as well. Let's see, we have terrain add. Then we have directional light remove, point light remove. Oh, and terrain remove. Okay, that's why this is conflicting. So is it truly only just... Like those are the same, those are the same, that's the same, and that's the same. So I can do current change on that one. Now I see why there are conflicts. I kind of expected this, to be honest. Yeah, we need the incoming change here. This is for the Vim highlighting, so I just need that. Highlighting and code completion. So I will take the incoming change there. And then last one, the current change is draw geometry and draw terrain geometry. Wow, that's actually wrong. Okay, so I see why this is messing up too. So technically speaking, this change should come down here with incoming. And then I'll take the incoming change, but this needs to be renamed to terrain geometry underscore draw, which is likely not reflected in the C file. Vulkan backend. C is not in this list. So Vulkan backend, C, terrain. Here we go. So we want to remove draw here and add it here. All right. Okay. So we probably ought to check the plugin main, because that's what actually hooks up all these functions as well. So we have the geometry draw. Maybe we've not hooked this up yet. That's probably going to be the next step, actually, because I don't think we've hooked that up yet. Let's take a look at the plugin. Terrain geometry counts. Draw terrain geometry. Yeah, okay, so we have kind of hooked it up. Or at least we've exposed the interface. So this should be terrain geometry draw. And then in the plugin main, we didn't actually hook that up, so it should be, we'll put that next to geometry draw. So we'll say out plugin terrain geometry draw equals Vulkan renderer geometry draw terrain geometry draw. So that was missing. That would have definitely been a bug. Let me check the front end as well. Front end. Search for terrain. Yeah, this is named incorrectly as well. So let's go ahead and rename that. So this should be renderer terrain geometry draw. All right. And we'll go ahead and save all. I guess that's already done. Okay. So looks like we have a couple things here that are bleating. Let me get rid of this. I think we can make the rest of these changes in Vim. TNT Master, hello, how are you? Welcome. How are you doing tonight? We're just doing a little bit of merge conflict management. So I went ahead and did a bunch of refactoring offline. And I'm trying to make the API a little bit more consistent. And so it involved renaming a bunch of stuff, and I'm sort of just dealing with the fallout with that real quick before we move on to our terrain stuff. So, incompatible with why? Struct frame data. It has that at the end. Oh, we're missing that. Okay. Will this auto fix it? No, it won't. Okay. So I'm actually just going to cheat and grab this, because that's what we're missing. And I suspect I probably have forgotten to add all of these things. Or the merge killed it. One or the other. Okay, how does this say this is incompatible? You know what? Let me get rid of this real quick, so I can view this full screen here just for a second. Okay, so it's a B8 construct render view self render view packet pointer frame number render target index frame number render target index and then a constant pointer to a frame data structure. That looks correct to me. We have it forward declared here, so I'm not sure why that's bleating. Might just be IntelliSense, like because of all the changes. Actually, in our list here of compilation errors, there's only one thing. So let's actually just take a look at that real quick. This should be terrain geometry draw. Let's build that. Okay, now it's bleating about the skybox. So skybox on render. What am I missing? Oh, this doesn't have the P frame data. So I added this to all the C files apparently, but not the H files, or they got nuked in my updates, which might have actually, I think that's actually what happened. So skybox.h, add that to the end. All right, so that should fix that one. Render view world. Terrain locations. Ah, that's right. Okay, yeah, I remember we actually left off on this before. So, okay, so I'll come back to that. I am just going to fix this because I suspect I also nuked it out of this guy's header. So let's take a look at this guy. Yep, that's been nuked. And I think that's actually going to be true for all of the views. So let me just do the UI. That's my bad for being a little bit too quick on taking the incoming change on that. Okay, render pick. Did I forget that one? Oh, it's added here twice for some reason. How did I manage that? Okay. Now the only things we have should be in our render view world. Okay, and that's basically where we left off. So I'm going to get out of here and go back to a terminal. And we'll do nvim. Actually, before we do that, let's do git add git commit merge from main. Okay, we'll go ahead and push this just so that we have that pushed as well. And now we can go into vim and let's see, that was view world .c. This is where all of the issues were. Specifically with, was it here or was it? Yes, it was here. Okay. So I think what we had before was we had this sort of terrain draw method that we wanted to use, but then we decided that that really wasn't sort of the way that it should be handled. And we started kind of moving that stuff here. And we don't have, do we have shader locations here? Because I don't think we did. So I think we did some hacky stuff with terrain locations in terrain.c. that we probably should undo and do it correctly here. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is where we left off before, right? So let's go over to, we'll split and go over to terrain.c. And we'll say draw, or was it render? Terrain render, there we go. So yeah, we basically had stripped all this stuff out of here, but this stuff, all the location stuff, is actually what we need to keep an eye on. So where we are storing that here is we have terrain shader locations, which I guess the view could go ahead and hold on to. So let's see. Because I thought we had... See, our material system is kind of doing this for us now for our meshes. Which is kind of making me wonder if this is the right place for this. Well, I think I'll temporarily put it here. So we have our world internal data. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this structure, clip it out of there. I'll put it here. And then down here, I'll call this terrain shader locations. Terrain locations. I guess I could just call it that same thing. And then when we come down here to, I guess, our create, right? We are going ahead and getting the built-in material shader here. We could actually just follow the same logic to get the terrain shader. So again, I'm just going to grab all of this and basically implement my to-dos here. So we'll just say terrain shader name, and this is going to be shader built-in terrain. Config resource, we're going to say terrain shader config resource. Resource type shader, that's going to be the same thing. Built-in terrain shader, shader config, terrain shader config, terrain config resource, terrain shader config resource. All right, so we got the data there. We are going to tie this to the first render pass. This is going to be terrain shader config. Failed to load built-in terrain shader. Should probably be a little bit more explicit with these errors, actually. So this should be resource, right? Because here we're just trying to load the resource. Here we're actually trying to create the shader. And then unload is going to be terrain config resource. Terrain shader config resource. Okay. So we can delete that to do. This one I'm going to, oops. This one I'm going to clip out from here and put there, right? And we're basically going to, let's get rid of this over here. Get rid of a couple extra lines here. let's see. Where was I doing that? I think I was doing something super hacky down here. Yeah. So we acquire the locations here. We were doing that on terrain load, which is terrible. So let's go ahead and get this out of here. So yoink. And we'll put that here. And we'll delete this line over here as well. Okay. So this is going to wind up being self internal data. Don't we already have a cold cast up here for that somewhere? We do. Data train locations. There we go. Okay. So we'll save them off like that. Tammin, hello. Welcome. How are you doing? Hopefully all is well. Let's make this a little bit snappier. So we'll get all of this and we will put it there. Oops. There are some of these motions in Vim I still have to figure out. This is one of them. Column selection would be very, very useful here. But it is what it is. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so we're saving off all of our material or our shader uniform locations. So I think that's all of the hacky crap out of here. And that should resolve all those errors. And then we can also come down here and plug in these locations here. So it's going to wind up being, do we have data? We do have data here. So we'll just say data, right, arrow. So we back, yoink, put, all right, terrain locations, put that there. We don't need these other things, just need this one. We'll go ahead and I'm just going to plug all of these terrain locations ones in real quick. Let's see, we've got another one here. And a couple more here. Okay. I think that's it for the terrain locations. Okay. Let's see. Doing fine, working and listening to the stream. I'll see if I can get any job done on my engine after work as well. Nice. Yeah, sounds like a plan. If I can fix my synchronization issues with DirectX 12, I'll be satisfied for the night. Yeah, those synchronization issues can be super annoying. When I go to multi-thread the renderer, which I'm going to be doing probably before too much longer, I'm sure I'm going to run into some of that stuff. But yeah, synchronization's super annoying. Okay. Honestly, it's one of the things that I like least about Vulkan. It's one of the things that I kind of wish that they gave you an option to sort of leave out. Yes, Kohi is using multiple frames in flight. Yes. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things that on some level, I wish they gave you the option to leave out just to keep things simple, because there's so much complexity behind it that it makes it really hard to sort of pick up and run. I mean, once you figure it out, you figured it out and it's solid, but it's kind of a pain in the butt to get to that point. All right. So we have projection. What is the issue here? We don't have projection. All right. So I think that's actually... Didn't we actually have that in data as well? I think we did. So I think it's data. Projection matrix. And we're probably going to need the address of that. All right. So this is probably going to be data view matrix. Address of. Do we not have view matrix? Maybe the packet has it. So let's do packet. Oh, the packet has the projection matrix too. Where are we storing it on the view then? Is this a pointer? Oh wait, that's the... I want the view matrix, not the view. View matrix. And I'm going to need the address of that. You know what? Just for consistency's sake, I'm going to take the... Whoops. I think it's just packet. Projection matrix. Do we have packet ambient color? Yes, we do. Gonna need the address of that. Whoops. I'm going to guess we have packet view position. We do. And we're going to have packet render mode. Not so lucky on that one. We don't know if we have... Do we actually have the view here? The mode? That might actually wind up being in data. Data. Render mode. There it is. So we're going to need the address of that. Okay. So that resolves those uniforms. What I wish they gave back to the driver is resource barriers. Yeah, no kidding. Mo22, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Especially keeping track of the state it's currently in. Yeah, resource barriers are kind of annoying. Like, I get why they did it that way. Like, in terms of trying to keep as close to the metal as possible with how the driver actually works, but like, I think it's kind of gone too far, to be completely honest. I think it's gone too far in that direction. All right, so we have hard-coded diffuse color and shininess. That's fine for now. Directional light. We got all kinds of errors here. Let's see. Use of undeclared identifier directional light. Do we not have lighting system? I thought we did. Interesting. We do not. Oh, because the material system is doing that now. So we need to include systems light system. All right. And actually, that resolved a lot of errors, which is pretty sweet. Terrain locations. What's the issue here? No member named terrain locations. Oh, wait. Data. Ooh, we have a name collision. That's why. Because we already have data up here declared, right? So this is a crappy name for this. This should probably be dir light data. And then here, this will be dir light data. Right. So there's that. Wow, we're really using all zeros for that? That seems like a rational default would probably have a dir light data direction y of, is it negative? Oops. Directional light is negative y. Yeah, okay. So a reasonable default would be, let's just say, negative 1.0 f, straight down. The other two axes are fine. Dir light data dot color. We're going to say is equal to vec for 1, which is white. Okay. So we'll go with that. Do we have any more errors in here? I don't see any more, actually. I think most of this stuff is just going to plug right in, which is sweet. This needs to be packet model. Is it model matrix? No, it is model. The packet doesn't have, oh, right. Yeah, the packet wouldn't include model. What a dummy. That's going to be that's going to be on the terrain itself. So that's going to be, let's see, do we even have, so we have terrain geometries. Oh, this is geometry render data, right? Not the actual geometry. So if we peek this, that should actually have the model in it. So what we actually need is we need a packet terrain geometries sub I dot model. Of course, we need the address of that. I wasn't sure if that was a pointer or not off the top of my head. Okay. So that's all the uniforms. Terrain render. This is sort of the thing that we want to get rid of, so I'm going to comment this out and say to do remove this. Okay. To do this isn't needed. Use the past one in instead. Render data.geometry. Why do I even have this here then if I don't need it? Okay. Just get rid of that. Let's write all buffers. Do we have... I don't think we have any more errors in this file. So let's open a terminal. And we'll do a build. Unused variable. 131. Shader terrain name. Oh, right. See, this is why I leave stuff like unused variables on, is because it catches bugs like this. So this should be terrain shader name. Okay. So terrain.c has got some issues in it. All right. So terrain.c. Let's see. Where is... Here we go. This is a rename issue. So renderer, geometry. This should be... render geometry create. Right. And actually, while I'm in here, I'm just going to go ahead and nuke that. And go to terrain.h. And it's probably going to be all the way down here at the bottom. Terrain render. We are going to nuke that guy as well. All right. Go back to our terminal here. Build again. Simple scene.c. I could have swore we hit all these rename changes before, but maybe I missed some. Okay. Simple scene.c. This first one is 355. So this should be transform world get. And then the next is 719. Oh, we have a mist. Part of a mist merge. What the heck happened here? Version control conflict marker in file. Oh, VS Code. You failed to merge properly. Just when I was giving you credit for doing the thing easy, and you did the thing wrong. Why must you do this to me? Okay. All right, so I guess let's try building again. Okay, so we built successfully. Let's go ahead and write or update our scene. So we have all these various things. For right now, I'm not going to tie this to a file. Eventually, we're going to have a file, but what is that theme? It looks great. Yeah, so this is... oh, what theme is this? I'm trying to remember what theme this actually is in Vim. I can't remember. Let me... I could tell you by... let's see. I have... it's called Nightfly. Yeah, it's a pretty cool theme. I like it a lot. I've got a whole bunch of Vim configuration. So yeah, it's but yeah, I quite like that theme. All right. So what I'm going to do is, for now, I'm just going to plug in, I guess I'll go down here to the bottom, and I'll do terrain, and I'm just going to give it a name. Test terrain. And that's it for right now. As we add more properties to this, we will go ahead and obviously add the properties here. But for right now, all we want to do is just kind of load one up and see what happens. So with that, that means that our scene loader actually needs to be updated. So simple scene loader. So we have some modes here. We probably need to go to definition here and add a new mode. So this is going to be simple scene parse mode terrain. All right, and you know what? I'm going to close this other buffer over here. If I can stop typing capital Q. So let's do this, I guess, towards the bottom here. So we probably ought to handle this. Let's see. Our point lights, we can have multiple point lights, right? We don't want to handle this something like a directional light where we can only have one. I guess the mesh sort of implementation here probably makes the most sense. So we're going to take the opening and closing from that. We're probably going to wind up having some repeated code here, so I may wind up refactoring this at some point just to eliminate some of this. But for right now, I'm just going to, let's see. I'm going to copy this and put it right here. So that's going to be terrain. Should come from root. And then terrain. Simple. Oh, shoot. We're going to need a new config object here. So let's go ahead and to do that. Also set up a default transform. Oops, got an extra E there for some reason. All right. Yeah, I think for now that should be good enough. We are probably going to want to add a transform to this, so I'm going to leave that there as well. Change this to terrain. This should be coming out of terrain back to root. Current mesh config. Yeah, so we need to set up a current terrain config. So let's do that actually. Speaking of which, we don't actually have that. So resource types, we're going to need a new configuration for terrains. So we'll type def struct terrain simple scene config. Oops. And I guess for right now, all we're going to do is have a name, and we'll call this xform. Name and a transform. I think that's good enough for now. We also need a semicolon there. Okay, so we have that. Now we can say terrain simple scene config current terrain config equals 0. Okay, and now we should come down here and swap out any place where we're using that current mesh config to current terrain config. This should be terrain simple scene config. We can delete all of that. Current terrain config dot transform. Oh, that's right. We called it xform. Equals transform create. Let's see. So we got this. That all looks fine. This just needs to be current terrain config name. Current terrain config resource name. Oh, resource name. We are going to need that. And I really don't want to take that out of here, so I should probably add that too. Orblish, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and add resource name. So here, character, resource name. All right. That way we have resource name. And then terrains require that both name and resource name. Terrains not added. Terrain not added. Okay. The next thing we need to do is current terrain config. We need to push that into the array. I don't think we have an array for terrain configs. We do not, so we need to add that. So terrain simple scene config terrains. All right, so this is just terrains now. And then this is going to be the size of terrain simple scene config. Okay. Okay. Now, there was where we are passing or parsing names, I think it was. We also needed to add some code here. So case simple scene parse mode terrain. And then we'll say, whoops, why is that all the way over there? Okay, current terrain config dot name equals string duplicate trimmed value break. Okay, so we need to actually parse the name of that, and then the resource name was down here somewhere as well. So the only one that has a resource name now is the terrain, or sorry, the mesh. So we'll have to else if mode equals simple scene parse mode terrain. Then we'll say current terrain config dot resource name equals string duplicate trend value. Okay. So there's that. Transform is also something that we need to handle. So else if mode equals simple scene parse mode terrain. Okay, so then we'll check the same. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to copy this block of code up here. And I'll just change this to current terrain config xform. And error parsing terrain transform. Okay. That should do. Oh, yep. Okay, I was just catching up with the chat here. Yeah, the theme is Nightfly. Does C have a switch statement? Yes, it does. So I'm actually using switches up here. I just didn't down here because there's only a couple of cases. I may switch these to switch statements. But for this much, I hadn't really worried about it. But yeah, if it becomes more than... my general rule of thumb is if I have more than 3 conditions, so like if I have an if, an else if, and an else, and if I have anything more than that, then I'll change it to a switch. Okay, so I think that is everything that we need to add. Other than we need to initialize the array, actually, the D array that we just added. So we should probably do that, and that's right here. So we can say resource data meshes, terrains equals D array create terrain simple scene config. Right. So now we have that. I'm not going to bother incrementing the version for this, only because we're adding something. We're not really breaking backward compatibility. So I'm not going to bother incrementing that just yet. Okay. So we've got that there. Space Camp Foundation, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. All right. I guess let's go ahead and open up our terminal and build. See if it broke anything horribly. And I'm actually just gonna run this real quick. I'll launch testbed. See if we actually get anything of interest. Looks like we did get something of interest. Let's see. What have we here? Shader name. Probably need to look at. Oh, config is. That's interesting. We don't have config. So that's going to fail straight away because this right here is looking to string duplicate the config.name, but config is a null pointer. So that's awesome. So shader system create. Okay, so that makes me wonder. Let's kill that real quick. And have a look at our assets, shaders. I thought we put a shader config here, built-in terrain shader config. So let's just take a look at this. Shader built-in terrain uses the world render pass. Shaders built-in terrain shader vert. Oh, did we not actually build the terrain shader? We haven't built any shaders. That's fun. Okay. All right. Wait, that can't be. That doesn't sound right. ls assets shaders. No, they're there. The terrain shader has not been compiled though. So let's do a post build. Vulkan SDK not found. But why though? Oh, let's see. When do you think you'll reach 1K followers on Twitch? I have no idea. I've been on Twitch now for, what was it, 2-3 months? 3 months, I think. And I am where I'm at. Actually, what even is my follower count? I don't watch that all that closely. 153. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, really. I have almost 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I've been at that for about 5 years, so it's hard to say. What IDE am I using? It's Vim. It's not really. I mean, I've kind of made it into an IDE, kind of, sorta, but yeah, this is more specifically NeoVim. So yeah, I've come up with a pretty specific configuration that I like to use here. All of this, though, works with VS Code. So all of the configuration and all that stuff, works right out of the box with VS Code. So if you were to go ahead and pull the code down from the repo right now and open it up in VS Code, all the build commands, all the run commands, the debugging, all that stuff's all set up. As long as you have all the plugins you need, which are also in the suggested list, all of that will work. So this is just a new setup that I'm trying. I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to stick with it, but I've always liked Vim much better as a text editor. And so I'm trying this out for a while and see if it works. One of the themes of this and my YouTube channel is I'm constantly experimenting with things and trying different stuff to see what works and what doesn't work. So that is that. Okay, but more concerning, Vulkan SDK is not found. So I think I know where this might be. Because I recently switched to ZSH instead of Bash for my for my shell. So I'm thinking that probably just isn't sourcing the Vulkan setup file. That's what I'm thinking. So I guess what I could do to get around this for right now, I'm going to actually make a note of this. Source Vulkan setup. Just so I don't forget to actually fix this later. So I'm going to source home folder, Vulkan. Let's see, what was that under? It's right there, setup environment.sh. So now I should be able to post build. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So looks like I have to edit that script because it's not actually including that shader. So let's open up post build sh, and I need to add 2 lines to this. I really need to automate this to make this sort of detect this stuff automatically. Shaders built in dot terrain shader dot dot vert dot glsl and assets shaders built in dot terrain shader dot frag dot glsl. Okay, so we'll write that and we'll build again. Okay, so it looks like we have an issue with our vertex shader. So let's do, you know what, let me edit the Windows script before I forget to do it. So okay. So that is that. So we need the terrain shader vertex, and this is saying line 18, which is this guy. Syntax error expected identifier. Expected identifier. Okay, am I missing a quote or something? The About Me says VS Code, did you switch to MVim recently? Yeah, very recently. Like, I switched to this 3, maybe 4 streams ago. So yeah, it's very recent. And if I need to, I can always go back to VS Code. I intend on maintaining compatibility with that setup so that anybody that's following along, because I realize Vim is not for everybody, right? I've just been using it daily at work now for quite a while, and I really like it, and I've been wanting to use it on this project for a while, so I switched to it because of that. But VS Code still works just fine. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out where this expected identifier is. Oh. We don't have these structures defined. That's probably why. So these are defined in the vertex, or the these are defined in the fragment shader. So terrain fragment, we have directional light and point light, right? So I'll copy those. go back to the vertex shader, put those right here. I want to, but man, the config stuff seems so long-winded. Yeah, it is super long-winded. I'm not gonna lie. It took me a while to get this set up the way that I wanted it. Not only to work with TypeScript, which is what I use for work, but to work with C, which is what I use here. It goes like, set up everything, okay, miss VS Code and go back. Yeah, and I did that a number of times too. There's always some small thing missing. Yeah, I think the only thing that's missing, I think, at this point for me is just me not knowing some of the movement commands. And being able to like column select is one of those things, but I'm sure Vim can do it. I just don't know what it is off the top of my head. So it's just learning that. But yeah, I find like navigation and not having to use the mouse as much is a huge advantage. Okay, so post build again. Successfully processed all shaders. Sweet. Okay, so so you didn't even use VS Code Vim key bindings. You know, I tried it for a little bit, but the problem is like the plugin that existed for it, some of the key bindings were like really slow and laggy. Like the it would just cause the whole thing to just kind of hang every once in a while, and it just really didn't work all that well. And that was just the plugin. I mean, I could have, I guess, gone through and tried to map all the key bindings manually, but yeah, I don't know. Not for you. Maybe that's changed. The last time I tried it was probably about 2 years ago, to be fair. So, my most used Vim stuff. What do you mean? Like the you talking about like what plugins I use? Yeah, that's kind of vague. That's why I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like navigation, stuff like that. Yeah. So I have a language server running, so it allows me to do things like go to definition, go to implementation, peak definition, all that stuff. I can see like a list of like if I do this, I can see all of my files in here, and it uses ripgrep to actually search them, so I can fuzzy find them. So if I just wanted to search back end, like I could just type that, and it just kind of comes up, and I can open it up, and it gives me a little preview over here, which is kind of nice. I also have a search where I can actually search for content in the files. So like I can search for, I don't know, VK check, if I could type it right. And it gives me all the instances of that, and I can just kind of poke through it like this, which is kind of cool. So this one is, I think this one is actually powered by NVIM. Is it? Oh, what's the plugin called? I'll show you my plugin list. So these are all the plugins I'm using. It's a crap ton of them. Yeah, I mean, what I might do is I might actually just publish this at some point, just so that you guys can have it. But it's not really something I totally wanted to support. So, but yeah, like I can just kind of do this, and then if you want, you can clip it or view it on demand later, and just kind of see all the plugins and stuff I have installed. So it's a decent amount of them. You don't just have to throw on a paste bin or guest. Well, I mean, the problem is with that is I have a lot of nested configurations. Like I split my configs into multiple files, just so that I don't have one gigantic thing, because it's a little easier for me to manage that way. I may change this and concatenate it into a single file at some point, but yeah, it's not like it's not as simple as just, sort of tossing it into one thing in one paste bin. Anyway. Okay. So we've got that. Let me go ahead and try running again. I guess I'll go back to... Actually, I want the view world. So we'll run from here. Launch the test bed. It looks like we're still not getting a configuration for some reason. Why is that? Let's see, do we have any exceptions in here? Nope, not yet. Let's just continue. Oh, just completely aborted. Nice. Okay. Let's have a look at why is it only picking up CNH file? Why is it not picking up my console.log? Should. There's still things with the setup I have to figure out for sure. Like, for example, I mean, a cool thing and a not so cool thing is like this tree that I use respects the get ignore file, which is kind of cool. But like when it want to examine what's in the bin folder, for example, that kind of gets in the way. Why only support one directional light? Is that only used for the sun in general? Yeah, so it's really just used for the sun. Like a directional light is basically cast over the entire scene, and so there's really only need to have one, right? Like if you're indoors, you're not going to use a directional light, and if you're outside, you're going to have just one directional light. Like I don't see the need to have more than one. What desktop environment is this? So this is Hyperland. So it's a tiling window manager / desktop environment. It's pretty sweet. It's like bleeding edge though, so I don't recommend running it unless you really know what you're doing. Yeah, it's Wayland. Yep. I actually I keep Cinnamon installed as well, just in case, so I have a fallback in case it breaks. But yeah, it's running pretty smooth right now. Sure, go ahead. Yeah, awesome window manager looked pretty cool. I like the way this one looked better, so I went with it. The configurability of this is awesome. No pun intended. In VS Code, you right click to make a new file, etc. Let me export and aside. Yep. Yeah, so here, like if I'm in this window, I could just hit A, for example, for add. And then at the bottom, it says create something here, and you just type, file name .c or whatever. When you switch to Vim, you have that browser, but you don't feel kind of stuck? No. Delete and moving is the same thing. So like if I wanted to, I could just hit D, which is going to say remove, yes or no. I'm going to hit no because I obviously don't want to do that. And then I think R for rename. Yeah. So I can rename and edit the file name here. So it's really just all the same thing. Move to another folder. I assume that could be just, that could probably just be done with a rename, right? Maybe not. Let me see. I actually don't know. I don't know how I would do that. To be honest, if I was going to move a file, I'd probably just move it in the terminal. That's usually the way I do it anyway. But yeah, I'm sure there's a key binding for it. I probably just don't have it set up. These are the nitpicky things I'm talking about. Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's probably literally just me not having it set up. But yeah, just being able to hit, a key on the keyboard and go back and forth is pretty nice. But yes, I would agree. There's definitely a way to do it. I just don't have it set up. All right. So why are we not getting a config? I guess is the question. Let me go to view world and load up symbols. Let's take a look at, I think it was create. So the finder is nvim tree. And I followed a few different guides around the web. I don't necessarily remember them all. Yeah, I don't know if I'd call mine minimal, but yeah, it's definitely something I can. I will have a look through my config files and pull out anything that I don't necessarily want to publish, and I can probably put that up on GitHub somewhere at some point. So shader built-in terrain. I'm going to put a breakpoint here because I'm not convinced that this is doing what it should be doing. So just going to resize this a bit. Let me get rid of this buffer here so we can see what the heck we're doing. Okay, so actually, let's do a breakpoint here. And continue to here. Step in. All right, we'll go into the loader. Okay, so it looks like it did find the file. So I don't necessarily want to step through all of this. Namely, the only thing that I want to do is, if we have any returns, I want to catch those. Okay, and this one. All right, so let's continue. All right, so it looks like it loaded up the shader config. So that is good. So if we take a look at the config, Resource, really? Terrain shader config. Let me just make sure that I didn't screw something up here. Config resource. Oh, I did screw something up. I see what it is. Okay. Missed one. Fuming Max, thank you so much for the follow. NG Dev, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. So here, where we're doing config resource, this should also be terrain shader config resource. We weren't loading it in the right one. We were loading it up here, and that's why it wasn't working. Okay, so let's go ahead and run again. C is a beast. I don't know how that stuff isn't insanely overwhelming to you. I've been messing with it for a number of years now, so it's less overwhelming, I guess you could say. Okay, I don't need this breakpoint anymore. All right, let's continue. I don't need this one anymore. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this breakpoint because I don't need that. So here's the config shader system create. Let's go ahead and just, wow, really? Again? Config is still 0. How is that possible? Run this again. Why it launched on the other side, I don't know. So here is the resource. Loader ID is 0. Well, this is full of crap. That's definitely not right. And that explains, yeah, the data here is a null pointer, which explains why this is a null pointer. Okay. So let's have a look here and see, what am I possibly missing? So we load up the shader. We know that that portion of it works correctly. We have the shader, terrain shader config resource here. We're passing the address of it there. Right? This is like literally the same thing that's going on up here. Gnarly Quack, thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate that. Let's see. How are we? Resource.data is what that should be loaded into. It didn't fail. Terrain shader config. Let me peek definition at this guy. Shader config. Yeah, I don't think it's an issue in there. Make sure I've saved all my buffers here. I think I have, but this is literally like the same thing that's happening up here. So I'm not sure why it's not working. The interesting part was that it was saying that the loader type was 0, which I don't think the resource system, I don't think in the order of generators, yeah, no, it's not the first one. It's like the 5th one. Stretch. Thank you for the redeem. I will stretch. Yes. Oh, I needed that actually. Okay. I feel like this is just a copy pasta issue somewhere here. So if I look up here, expand this a little bit, shader.builtin.terrain. So that's the shader config there. That should be loading the thing into the config resource. So I guess let me throw in a breakpoint here, debug again. The first time I think I'm going to go ahead and just, I think I'm going to step over it, right? So in this case, yeah, see, we didn't fail in the resource load, but it didn't fill out the struct either, which is bizarre to me. So let me look up should have a console.log. I don't see any validation errors in here. There's not really much going on in here, honestly. It's 100 lines. Okay, so I don't think it's that. Terrain shader name. All right, I guess I'm gonna have to step through this to understand what the heck it is on about. So I'm just going to, we don't really need this display. So I'm just gonna resize it down and step in. Put another breakpoint here. Continue. So we load. Full file path. Assets, shaders, shader.builtin.terrain.shaderconfig. Yep, looks good to me. So it is pulling the right path. So I'm gonna trust that that works. Out resource full path equals string duplicate. Okay. Shader config resource data. So we k allocate that. Set up all these. Those are all fine. And then we read line by line. So I'm really not sure here. Okay, so this is the only time that return false happens. Out resource data equals resource data. Okay, let's put another breakpoint here. And we're just going to continue. All right, so we get all the way down here. So that means we should have read the whole thing successfully. So resource data, if we drag this over a little bit, So we have a name, call mode, number of attributes, array of attributes, uniforms, 2 stages, stage names, right? Vertex and frag. The stage file names. So all of this, all the data looks like it's there. Okay, so we have resource data. So out resource data is there, right? And the data size should now be set, and it is. Return true. Right, and then we go up a couple levels here. And then we have terrain shader config resource, which is here. And it's empty. It's like full of garbage. I don't understand. Like the resource load should literally take name type params, which there are none, and then a pointer to the out resource. Okay. And then we're literally just taking, well, taking a copy of that pointer, but it's null here. What am I missing? All right, let's kill this. Let's go back to the terminal. And let's do a Linux clean all. And now we'll do a, where is it? Linux build debug. And we'll run. All right. Let's get rid of that. So I don't need this breakpoint anymore. We know this works. We know that works. So that's the first. Oh, that's for the skybox. Okay, so we don't need that. This is the one we actually care about. So the resource here doesn't have anything loaded in it. After that line, oh, okay. Well, I guess it needed a full rebuild then. But I see we still don't have a name. Why don't we have name? Because we are string duplicating that, and I think that's what it's hiccuping over. Okay, so let's take a look at the asset. Terrain shader config. we do have a name here. Why is it claiming we don't have a name if we do? Let's look at another one. Let's do material shader. I mean, this is almost exactly the same. I guess it just doesn't like the fact it doesn't have a name. Okay, so I guess let's get rid of this breakpoint and run again. And I want to step into I want to step into this. So I guess shader config. Oh, it says as a name here. So maybe we fixed it. Let me step over a few lines here. Yeah, we might have fixed it. We might have fixed it. Okay. So I'm just going to continue and see what happens. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. So extent.width must be, oh, you know what? This might have been because I did a window resize at a weird time. Let's do. All right. Are we back? Cool. I think we're back. All right. Yeah, sorry about that. OBS had some sort of encoding error and it just kind of stopped streaming. So I'm not sure what happened there. Fun. All right. Where was I? Let's take a look at let's take a look at the logs. So cd bin and then console.log. And we'll go here to the bottom. So we got some validation errors. Render pass. Cannot execute a render pass with the render area not within the bounds of the frame buffer. And pnext. Okay, we're not using pnext, so that doesn't matter. Why is... that's really strange. Okay, I don't think those are anything. I think this is probably it. VKQ wait idle. I wonder if my display driver just crashed. And that's what killed the stream too. Maybe it's OBS's latest update. Trino was having the same issues in his live stream. Really? Okay. Yeah, I do have like the bleeding edge OBS, so maybe that's it. But this is kind of making me wonder, like, the fact that I'm getting an assertion failure on a queue wait idle without anything else except maybe this stuff. It's kind of making me, yeah, I'm thinking it might have been a driver crash. All right, so because we all know how awesome NVIDIA's drivers are these days. So I guess let me try running this again. And I'm going to get rid of this breakpoint because we don't need it anymore. Okay. So we're up and running. Let's go ahead and load and see how horribly it crashes. Or maybe it does nothing at all. Pretty sure that I did. Oh, you know what? I don't know if I actually hooked up the... I don't know if I hooked up the config or not. Because I don't think I'm actually loading up the terrain, right? I think I just hooked that up to the config, and like the config reads it in, but then doesn't actually do anything with that. So I don't... Getting ahead of myself here, I think. Stream disconnecting due to driver crash and graphics programming is peak interactivity. Yes, absolutely. I feel like by the way that if I was running Windows right now and the display driver crash, I would have to reboot. Because I've had that happen a number of times where it just reboots and like blue screens are just, crashes horribly. And I don't get that issue on Linux as a result. Like I don't think I've ever had to reboot because of a graphics issue on Linux. All right. Anyway, so we should probably head over to simple scene. So we have the simple scene loader. Let's go ahead and take a look at initialize. Okay, so point lights, meshes. Yeah, we didn't actually have anything happening for terrains. All right, so now we actually need to tell our simple scene to load it. So U32 terrain config count equals the array length scene config terrains. All right, for U32 I equals 0, I is less than terrain config count plus I. So I think we can probably actually copy like a decent amount of the structure up here. So eventually we are going to be loading a resource name. So I am going to go ahead and require that. So let's go ahead and yank this and put that here. And this is just going to be trains sub I, and then trains, whoops, sub I, invalid terrain config, name and resource name are required. Okay. Next we're going to have a terrain config. And we'll say new terrain config. This is the config that the actual object itself is going to want, right? Not the simple scene config. So new terrain config dot name equals string duplicate scene config terrains sub I dot name. Okay. Now we don't actually have terrain resource loading up and running yet. So I'm going to put a to do here. To do copy resource name load from resource. Okay. Instead, I'm going to create the config myself. So new terrain config dot tile count x. We're going to set that to, I don't know, 100. New terrain config tile count Z. We'll also set to 100. New terrain config dot tile scale X equals 1.0. New terrain config tile scale scale Z equals 1.0f. All right. What else do we have in here? So we need to, we're not doing materials yet. I think that's it, actually. We have name. Yeah, so I'm just going to say material count equals 0 and new terrain config dot materials, material names rather, equals 0. Okay, so now we have the terrain. Now we should be able to say terrain create, and then we'll pass the address of new terrain config. What is the do we not have that installed or included here? Resources, we do. Terrain create. Why can't I peek the definition of that? What else did that want? Oh, just terrain. Okay. So I guess we'll say, oops, address of scene terrains. No, we're not going to do that, actually. Back. Let's do instead terrain, new terrain, and then pass the address of new terrain here. Okay. Why is this bleating? Struct terrain capit. What? Does it not want a... Oh, it doesn't take it as a pointer. Okay. Just takes a copy of it. Okay. All right, so terrain create, I believe that returns a Boolean. It does. So we'll say if not this, then we will failed to load terrain. Right, and I guess we'll continue. Right, we don't want to abort the entire load process if terrain fails to load, but let's see. I'm not NVIDIA, but I feel like my display driver's been crashing a lot since I last updated. I'm also on Arch. Yeah, I keep having had problems with like the I2C issue coming up, and that was super annoying. But yeah, at least for me, the driver recovered after I messed some stuff with DirectX. Windows recovered, I mean. Okay, yeah. Fun fact, since I opened up Twitch, my screen became weird. Image got yellowish, and there are some artifacts when I scroll too fast. Weird. That sounds terrible. Like a terrible bug. Okay, so we create the terrain. I suppose we should probably do like we're doing up here in K-free, the new terrain config dot name, which is going to need string length new terrain config dot name, and then mem tag string. All right, we should probably free our strings, right? We don't have a parent name yet. I don't think we're going to parent terrains to anything. That's kind of not needed for this. We will also say new terrain dot, is it X form? Yeah. Equals new terrain config dot. Wait a minute, I thought we had. Oh no, it's scene config dot terrains sub I X form. There we go. Okay. And then finally, darray push. This is going to be scene terrains, and then it's going to be new terrain to terrain. Okay. Why is this bleating? Oh, because for some reason the config name is a constant character. Or constant. Why did I make that constant? That shouldn't be constant. Okay, so that should handle that. So that loads up the, or at least adds the terrain. Simple scene load. We'll need to do same here with like meshes. So we'll just do this right after meshes. In fact, nah, I'm not gonna copy pasta. That gets me into trouble. Terrain count equals the array length scene terrains for u32i equals 0, I is less than terrain count plus I. Do you have your nvim configuration anywhere? The debugger plugin seems handy. Yeah, it is super handy. I don't have it posted anywhere, but I am making a note here to post it. I probably will put a post up on my website about it, honestly. Just because it's a little bit more than just kind of dropping a config in place, and I'll need to like go through my steps to see exactly what needs to happen to get the setup to run from scratch. Because I haven't gone through that. So it's not going to be just as simple as just kind of drop the files and it'll work, I don't think. But yeah, that's something I'll probably be able to get out sometime soon, I hope. But yes, I've made a note of it. Okay, so if not terrain load, and this is going to be the address of scene terrains sub I. So if that fails, okay, error, and we are going to say terrain failed to load. To loaf. Yeah, that's fine. I should have left that. Return false. I don't know if I really should be returning false here. I don't know if we should abort the entire load just because of that, right? Like, I think I'm actually going to return false on fail, right? Like, I don't know if I feel like you shouldn't abort the entire scene load if one thing fails, but okay. Unload. So the actual unload we'll look at in a minute. Updates. We don't have any updates for the train yet. Populate render packet. This is going to be Actually, we might have already done this. Yeah, we've done most of this. Check terrain generation. Yeah, we should probably do that. For some culling. Yeah, okay. I think we're actually in good shape here. So I think we've done that already, somehow. I think we have our terrain add. Yeah, we have that set up. Initialize. I don't think we did anything for initialize for. Yeah, okay, I guess we're good. So let me write all. Switch back to the terminal. Let's build. And close that one. Run. I can't imagine that this is going to work on the first shot, but we'll see. We'll load. Okay. So it did load. What it loaded, I'm not really sure, because I don't see my terrain anywhere. So that's kind of interesting. I may wind up having to fire up render doc to see exactly what it did. Let's see. Let me move to. Let me move to 000, right? Or at least close to it. Let's see. That should be. It's gonna be this way. Wait. There we go. So it should be like right here. But I know C terrain. So, I think this is probably where I'm going to stop because I suspect that that perhaps maybe it is just it's being loaded but isn't being drawn. I guess I could do. I could do a quick check. Let's do render on render. So here is the terrain. So let's just put a breakpoint here, see if we get anything. So terrain count is 0. So that's pretty cool. That's why we're not getting anything. So let's check out up here where we are building the packet. Because we should be... Oh, maybe we're not feeding it to the world data? I thought we were doing that, though. So, terrain count is 0. So the world data is not getting it. Okay, let's kill this. I'll look at one quick thing. And if it's not that, then I'll call it for the night. Trying to think what I was going to look at here. So we populate the render packet. Raw data. Yeah, we have terrain geometries being pushed to from here. So, I guess let me run one more time. I can kill this breakpoint, I think. Continue. Let's load. I'm going to kill this breakpoint. Continue. And simple scene. I'm going to put a breakpoint right here. So terrain count. Terrain count is 0. How is that possible? Didn't we add it when we initialized? Let me take a look at initialize one more time. All right, I'm going to continue. I'm going to get rid of this breakpoint. Continue. I'm going to unload this and load it back up. Terrain config count. Terrain config count is 0. So something with our loader is foobar somewhere. Scene config terrains. Yeah, that count's coming back as 0. So, okay. I guess what I will do is I'm gonna leave off here. Terrain count coming back as 0. But why? Okay. So I'm going to call it here for tonight. I think we made some pretty decent progress. But yeah, I have a few ideas as to why that might be, but we'll tackle that next time. So, thank you guys so much for joining along with me and being here. I really appreciate the all the support and the follows and the chatting tonight. I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Let me see if there is anything out here to wow, okay. Apparently I'm not rating another channel tonight because the Twitch dashboard is just not letting me do the thing. Sweet. Okay, well that's useful. Thanks for that, Twitch. Okay, so I guess there's no raid tonight. Anyway, all right. I will see you guys next time. Bye.